Hey guys, over the next 10 minutes, I'm going to talk about everything that I wish I knew when I started Auto Chess for Dota 2. I'm going to cover the basics all the way to some moderately advanced topics and game plans, and hopefully it sets you off on the right foot. So, stay tuned. Okay guys, I've been playing Dota 2 Auto Chess for about a week now. Now I know this is a bit of a departure from my normal stuff, but this is again kind of MOBA focused, so I'm going to jump straight into it because this is everything that I wish I knew before I started playing Dota 2 Auto Chess. The first of which is in the settings, and it is Enable Quick Cast. This is going to help you get off on the right foot, especially as games go later and later. The amount of actions that you have to take each round and the 30 seconds that you have in between rounds is going to go up, and Quick Cast will make that a lot easier. So get it on early, learn how to play with it, and it will definitely help you. Let's have a look at the hotkeys now. Space opens up the shop, which will have your 5 chess pieces that you can choose from. Q will move your chess piece around the board, but also you can move it back onto your bench and off your bench, most importantly. W will immediately recall a chess piece back to your bench in the first available slot, which can be very useful as the game goes on too. E will sell a chess piece, and again these are changeable, but this is the defaults that I have them set to. So E will sell a chess piece once you're done with it. D will cycle the shop and bring you 5 new chess pieces to choose from, but it will cost 2 gold. And F will invest 5 gold into experience, which can be very, very useful, especially in the early game getting to level 6, but as the game goes on you're going to want to invest more and more into experience too. A very useful hotkey that I didn't know about until about 3 or 4 days in was Alt, and you can hover over your XP bar to see exactly how much XP you need for the next level. And also Tab is the other most useful key that I use. It can cycle the other players' boards, and by spamming Tab, you can use that to have a look around. Now, Dota 2 Auto Chess is built on synergies, and there are species synergies and class synergies. One of the ones that you may not know about is demon synergies. A singular demon on the board will gain a damage bonus. However, this is only cancelled if demons of different species are on the board at the same time. So you can have something like 2 Shadow Fiends or 2 Queen of Pains, and they will retain their demon bonus. The rest of them, read up on them. You can find them online very easily. I'm not going to go through each individual one, but you can also find them in the game by looking down at the bottom part. Hover over one of your units, looking down at the bottom part, and it will tell you the bonuses for the species and also the class. So you can read up on those units as you get them. Okay, so combining units. Let's say we have Drow Ranger. 3 level 1 Drow Rangers gives me a level 2 Drow Ranger. So that's pretty simple there. Now, to get a level 3 Drow Ranger, I need 3 times level 2 Drow Rangers, which in total is 9 times level 1 Drow Rangers. So for the most part, and almost all units in the game follow this rule except for Druids, you will need 9 level 1 units to get to a level 3 unit, which isn't actually that possible as you go on with the higher level units. Now, Druids are a little bit different because their racial bonus allows them to combine with less units if another Druid is in play. So 2 level 1 units can go to a level 2 unit if you have another Druid in play, and if you have all 4 Druids in play, 2 level 2 units can go to a level 3 unit. That's the only difference in terms of combining. Alright, let's take a look at gold. I told you this was a very quick overview. You get 1 to 4 base gold for the first 1 to 4 rounds, and then you get 5 base gold for every round thereafter. You get +1 gold for winning a round versus a player, and you get +1 to 3 gold for a win or loss streak, and you get +1 gold for 3 to 5 wins or losses, +2 for 6 to 8 wins or losses, and +3 for 9 win or losses. Which means you can actually build up a loss streak if things aren't going well for you to build up a really strong economy. You also get +1 gold interest for every 10 gold you have up to 50 gold, making the optimum amount of gold between 50 and 60. So you always want to try and maintain gold between 50 and 60, but we'll talk about that once we get to the game plan. Items, you can collect them in the game, and if you aren't sure what they do, you can click on them and show combinations, and you can see which items combine together to make certain combos. If you go to the link that you can see on the screen right now, that will tell you all of the combinations in the game, and also tell you what each of those individual items do. It's a really, really good link, and you can learn about the items and which ones are useful to you on certain chess pieces. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them because, again, that is quite long and difficult. If you're wondering where the chess pieces come from, they all come from a common pool. There are 45 1-star chess pieces, 30 2-star chess pieces, 25 3-star chess pieces, 15 4-star chess pieces, and 10 5-star chess pieces. And that represents their rarity. So, to get in the game in total, there is a maximum of 5 level 3 1-stars. So there only could ever be 5 level 3 1-stars in a game, and you can see on the right hand side that's where that list goes down. All the way down to level 4 and 5 stars, you can really only ever get 1 of those to level 3 if the draws are lucky in your favour. There are also neutral creep rounds, which I always forget about, but it's good to have these in your mind. At level 10, you get golems. They're pretty simple to deal with. Level 15 is wolves. They always catch people out because they're assassins. 20 is Fellborgs. They can hit pretty hard. 25 are the harpies or the wildkins. They're actually probably some of the easiest neutral rounds in the game. 30 are lizards. 35 are dragons. They are both hard. They require CC. And 40 is trolls. Most games end before you get to the trolls. And there are 2 rounds after that, but we never really see them, so there's not much worth talking about them. And trolls in general will always beat you. It's very difficult to beat trolls. They are designed to do well versus you. And again, you saw assassins require certain positioning, so wolves will require certain positioning, and also the other neutral rounds will require some CC. So we're going to run through a very basic game plan here, and this is something to take with a pinch of salt because game plans should always be adaptable. But I'm going to talk about the basic strategy that will always serve you well and allow you to set up to build from whatever base that you want to. Now, when you start the game, you don't have to commit to a strategy from the offset. It's always good to have a look around at your opponents and see exactly what they're building, because a lot of units are very popular and are contested. Things like mechs, goblins, orcs, warriors, bounty hunter, they're all very heavily contested in the early game, so sometimes it's good to stray away from those. Don't get obsessed with synergies early. Getting mech synergies, warrior synergies, and orc synergies are all great, but they will eventually fall off. You don't need to be obsessed with them in the early game. You can always look to plan for the later stages of the game. Having a solo demon in the early game is good because of the demon synergy by itself, so they'll deal a lot of damage and they can often carry you through rounds. Prioritize leveling up units over synergies. It is always stronger to get a level 2 unit onto the board than build one of the weaker early game synergies. Always, always, always consider getting level 2 units onto the board as soon as you physically can, because they give you a massive power spike, and it is always better than building sort of synergies in the early and mid game. So as you can see, you just saw me level up to 5 there, and that is something that we do called getting to level 6 ASAP, and you can use the Alt key to check how much experience you have. But if you have 5 gold when you hit level 4, you can immediately level up to level 5 by investing the gold into your experience book, and that will allow you to get 5 chess pieces on the board. The ideal strategy is after round 5 to level up to level 5, and after round 8 to level up to level 6, and that should give you your mid game, and then you can start building an economy. So we can talk about those 2 level ups. We've just seen one between level 4 and level 5. We'll talk about the one between level 5 and level 6. Don't waste your gold rolling pieces in the early game. It's very risky and you might not end up getting anything from it. It's a waste of 2 gold in most circumstances. And don't be afraid to take a loss streak. I will talk about that once we hit level 6, but it is something that is pretty important. Loss streaks are just as good as win streaks in most cases at building yourself an economy. Be flexible. Buy a lot of pieces early on and then sell them when you don't need them. You can always, always, always choose to go into whatever you want, just depending on what you've got on your bench. So it's good to have a good bench to allow you to be flexible in terms of strategy. After you've reached level 6, which will take place after round 8 if you're on track, build to and maintain 50 gold for interest reasons. If you get to 50 gold, you're getting an extra 5 gold per round, so you want to just basically take the L or try and win as much as possible to build up towards 50 gold as soon as possible. But always buy things that will give you level 2 upgrades. Don't save all of your gold, just make sure you're being as conservative as possible. So I just hit round 8 on the video that you can see here. I'm halfway to level 6, which means an investment of 5 gold with my F button gets me straight up to level 6, which allows me to bring my Shadow Fiend onto the table. I now have 6 chess units, and now I'm going to want to build up towards 50 gold. If you're not doing very well and you haven't found yourself that many good units, you have no synergies and no level 2s, and you're losing rounds, do something called Open the Fort, especially once you get to level 6. Take that loss streak. You can actually survive a lot of losses in a row in the early game, and this is the best time to do so if you know that you can't get yourself back into the game to be competitive. Get yourself up to 50 gold, and then start leveling and rolling to get yourself a good strategy. Buy the good units regardless of synergy. Things like Medusa and Disruptor have really big game-changing ultimate abilities, and if you have them at level 2, they can often carry your composition by itself. We also want to make sure we learn some basic positioning, and we always have a late game plan in mind in terms of our synergies. Synergies are really important to the late game. In terms of positioning, you can never place your units beyond the red line. So the closer they are to the red line, the closer they'll be to the enemy. The further they are away from the red line, the more the enemy has to work to get to you. And you can also be grouped or spread depending on how you want to deal with AoE abilities that your enemy is throwing at you. The first formation that I'll quickly run over is the line formation. Forward, as close to the line as possible, and you want these guys to engage on your enemy as soon as possible. Great for melee compositions like warriors and tanks. A backline formation is mainly for assassins, allowing them to jump directly to the backline without having to engage in the enemy front line. A tight corner formation is a good way of protecting ranged DPS and mages versus warrior and tank lines advancing on you. However, it can be weak to assassins. So, an anti-assassin corner, which is great versus the wolves neutral round, is to move your mage and your ranged DPS up one and replace their position with a tank. Therefore, the assassins will engage on the tank, giving your ranged DPS a little bit more time to survive. We're also going to talk about the spread formation, which is avoiding AoE. It's a great way to split your units up, but it can be a bit vulnerable to assassins, can be a bit vulnerable if the enemy engages on you with no big AoE. A note for the big spell chest pieces like Kunkka, Medusa and Disruptor, sometimes it's better to have them in your front line, and that can allow them to cast their ability more quickly, especially if they're level 2, they can take the damage and then get their big game-changing ability off. Some final notes before we end the video. This really was a whistle-stop tour of everything that I wish I knew before I started Dota 2 Auto Chess. Avoid stacking items. Things like shredding magic resist items don't stack. Things that you can stack will be the plus attack damage, the really basic stuff, broadsword, claws, that kind of stuff. They can be stacked, but not every item can be stacked, so be very careful when you're looking to stack items. Regen and defense usually goes onto warriors and tanks. Damage can go onto assassin or ranged, although don't be afraid to give your assassins some defense if they are struggling to keep themselves alive in the backline. And make sure you read the damage type on your chess piece. No point giving them magical shredding items if they're a physical based hero. Even their abilities might be physical based, so make sure that you do read the abilities and the damage type before giving them the damage or the items. Watch streams. I watch Tides of Time, and he's really good. He often explains most of what he's doing, especially if he's in a good mood. So make sure you watch streams and watch YouTube videos, because it's really, really helpful and can help you learn the meta. Play a lot and get a feel for your favorite strat. I love elves right now. A lot of people do because they're just really powerful. I also like knights because it's really cool to play. But yeah, get a feel for your favorite strat and your favorite pieces, and you can make them work for you. Also, make sure you're reading up on tier lists and meta. There is a tier list for units. Some units are just better than others, so make sure that you're aware, and Reddit is a great place to go and find the latest version of the tier lists. That's pretty much where I consume all of my Dota 2 Auto Chess. And remember, this game is built on lots of RNG, so if you lose, sometimes it's not your fault. Make sure you just keep playing and enjoy it, because it is a very, very fun way to kill a bit of time, especially if you've got a stream going on in the background, because it is so chilled out. Alright guys, that is everything that I have for sort of the starter guide to Dota 2 Auto Chess. This is everything that I wish I knew before I started playing, and I've only been playing a week, so it's a lot of information to take in. I will see you soon. I'll be doing some Vainglory videos next week, and make sure you go and check out my other channel, Apex Bamboozled with Dowsy. We're doing Apex content. I'll see you soon.